So we've looked at the central nervous system. Now it's time to move on to the peripheral nervous system. Reviewing, the peripheral nervous system consists of all the nerves and ganglia that live outside of the spinal cord and the brain. They travel in nerves, which are essentially bundles of nerve fibers. And these bundles are grouped together with connective tissue. We went over this in the first video of this section. So let's look at the classification of nerves. Much like the central nervous system, you have got the sensory nerves and the motor nerves. But as well, you also have mixed nerves. Nerves that specifically carry both motor and sensory fibers. Most of your peripheral nervous system is the mixed nerves. There are a couple of exceptions though. But let's first address the cranial nerves. We also looked at the cranial nerves in our dissection video, and you should have gone over the structures and function in your lab write-up. The only cranial nerve that extends beyond the head and neck, now the cranial nerves only deal with the head and neck. The only one that extends beyond is the vagus nerve, which goes into the thoracic and the abdominal cavities. The exceptions to the most peripheral nerves are mixed nerves rules are your special senses nerves, your optic nerve, your olfactory, and your vestibular cochlear nerves. These three are sensory only because they are bringing the information into the brain about what's going on. So moving down past the cranial nerves, let's talk about the spinal nerves as they come out of the spinal cord. For every segment of your spine, there is a name, and there are 31 pair of spinal nerves that come out of these segments or these vertebrae, as we learned in our last unit. When they come out, the spinal nerves are named for the region that they come out. So you've got your cervical spinal nerves, your thoracic spinal nerves, your lumbar, and your sacral. This is a better picture. So as they come out of the spinal cord at each level, you've got your dorsal root with the dorsal ganglia. The ganglia, remember, are the sensory roots that go into the spinal cord, and these ganglia house all of the nerve bodies within them. And then you've got your ventral root, which is all of the motor impulses that come out to bring the orders back to the body. When they come together, right here, that is your spinal nerve. And then, right after they come together, very quickly they spread out because they divide up the body between dorsal and ventral to serve the sensory and motor needs where it needs to go. So you divide up the nerves into dorsal rami and ventral rami, or dorsal ramus and ventral ramus. Now, as they divide up and they split, there's a lot of overlap in these nerve fibers just to make sure that everything is covered. And if you should have an injury in one area, the area that the nerve is served can be covered by other parts of the nervous system. This is where you have a web of nerves that form called a plexus. There are 4 major plexuses. There's the cervical, the brachial, the lumbar, and the sacral. These all form from the ventral rami of the spinal nerves to give overlap. So if we look here, it goes. So here's your sacral plexus that comes out of the sacral area. Here is your lumbar plexus coming out of the lumbar region. Your cervical plexus comes out of the cervical spine, and then your brachial plexus comes into the arm.